Hello and welcome to the Naked Expat channel. This is quite a long video, but please do watch it through and don't be tempted to fast forward because I do actually speak during my bike ride. And I ride around Clark, showing you various interesting parts of Clark, and then I ride out on the new Sacobia Bridge, past the Kamikaze airfield, and the Sacobia Bridge to New Clark City, which is 38 kilometers north of here. Do watch it. I also stop off at the new Hann Reserve, which is going to be a massive lifestyle complex. I think I said about 160 hectares in the video, but looking back on the details, it's 450 hectares, including 3 international 18-hole golf courses, businesses, going to be international schools, shopping malls and everything else. It's a massively important thing for you guys to appreciate if you're in your 50s and are thinking about retiring to the Philippines, because trust me, in 5 to 10 years, New Clark City is going to be the hub, the lifestyle choice, #1, probably in the whole of Asia, because Clark and New Clark City is somewhat unique in what it can offer expats coming to the Philippines, or in fact the whole of Asia. I don't think anything is going to come close to it. So do look out for that. And I don't have a sort of specific fancy motorcycle mount or anything. I actually rode all around Clark and up to New Clark City, which in total is about 40 kilometers, 45 kilometers, including riding around Clark. And I'm on the throttle and holding the camera like that. So do appreciate it, because my arm was absolutely killing me afterwards. And in some places, the video quality is 2 times digital zoom, which isn't grainy, but it's not perfect. And when it's on standard zoom, it's beautiful and crystal clear. I did put on a wide-angled lens on this action camera so that you get a full panoramic perspective. I'll lower the volume of the motorcycle sort of drone where I can, but I'll also, as I said, I do talk during the bike ride, so don't fast forward too much, because there are poignant things that I do mention as I'm going along, which I'm sure a lot of you guys will find interesting. It's a massive development that's going on here. Forget your Dumagettis and your Iloilus and your Cebu. When you watch this video to its full extent, I am sure you will appreciate and think, what the hell? I personally never thought that this sort of thing I would see during my lifetime. But it's happening, guys. And if you're in your 50s now, probably rent in Philippines and hang off committing yourself to anything permanent, because trust me, in 5 to 10 years' time, if you take a look at New Clark City, you will think, wow, I want to live here. Unless you're on an absolute very small budget, in which case, sure, you might want to live in the provinces somewhere. But trust me, for a lot of you guys out there, this is going to be a real eye-opener for you. And I really do hope that you enjoy this video. If you are a member, I've only got a handful of members that actually pay and subscribe as members. But if you're members, when I sign off at the end of the video, look out for some extra content in the members area where myself and my son enjoy the drinks from this family-run food truck that you'll see in the main video. I stop and talk to the wife, but once I've picked up my son, we stop off there and enjoy. I have a hot coffee, my son has like a cheesecake cold bubble thing, whatever it's called, some fancy stuff, and we sat outside and we talked to the owner and stuff. So that's a bit of extra content. And also I will highlight in the video a hilarious aspect where a trike goes by, sort of open top trike goes by, and it's literally got, without exaggeration, 40-foot bamboo poles, literally from the front to the back, and like riding along this road like this. It's hilarious. Look out for that. And when I got time, look out for that if you're a member, as like extra content. And when I got a moment, I'll make that into a short in the future over the course of the next couple of weeks for the rest of you guys to watch, because it's absolutely hilarious. Talk about being overloaded. This is like totally overloaded, and it's funny. Some of you guys probably have seen that in the Philippines already, but if you haven't, it's an eye-opener to what goes on in the provinces on roads, and you just think, that's insane. How can somebody ride a tricycle with that amount of load on it? But they do, guys. So without further ado, as an introduction, please look forward to this video. Not to please look forward to it. Please bear with me during this video, because I highlight some really interesting aspects of Clark and also New Clark City. And I do think you'll be doing yourself a disservice if you don't watch all of it, because there's a lot of Clark in New Clark City that people really don't appreciate. Pampanga is a massive opportunity. And rather than sitting in some of these other retirement destinations and vegetating, I'm sure once you've watched this video, you will appreciate that perhaps Clark in New Clark City has got something to really give you a fantastic retirement lifestyle, and pretty much has got something to offer everybody. Certainly, if you believe in and you embrace my philosophy of health and wealth. Thank you for staying with me and bearing with me. Please watch all this video. I hope you like it. It took me a lot of time to video all of this, but I really hope you guys enjoy it. Comments in the comment section below, and obviously subscribe if you've not already done so. And do consider becoming a channel member, because you will get extra content specifically just for you guys. Without further ado, let's get on with it. Coming up to the Royce Casino, used to be called the Oxford Hotel. Massive expansion. This part is part of a new convention centre that's there. It's huge. Don't really like the idea of casinos. I think they're quite evil, but that's just my own personal opinion. Still a very attractive building. Obviously plenty of money around. You don't see many Range Rovers in the Philippines, do you? On the right hand side there, if you're really busy, you've got PLDT and Converge. You can go there and pay your bill rather than the Converge office in MacArthur Highway, which is normally hellishly busy. Now we're coming down this main road. On the left hand side, where these traffic lights are coming up, used to be the Holiday Inn, which is now called Quest Hotel. And lots of hotels and restaurants being built around that area. Filinvest are in there. And there's luxury villas. It's going to be big new shopping malls. There's, you see Filinvest malls there. That's due to open probably within the next 6 months. I think by the end of this year, certainly. And there's a lot of shopping malls. It's going to be like the #2 destination after SM Clark. Actually, it might end up being #1 destination. It looks really nice in there. There's like shop houses and stuff, gardens. There's a samosa. Is it samosa? But it's the golf club, and a driving range and everything in there as well. Coming down here, you'll see the large SwissHotel on the right hand side. Before that is a Marriott hotel. Now we're going to stop here because this is all part of the HANN Resorts complex. Now, HANN Resorts is owned by a Korean guy that has basically stopped all of his investments in Korea and is pumping all of his money, is bankrolling all of this development in Clark and New Clark City, which is going to be the basis of a couple of my videos. I've been to the Marriott Hotel, I've stayed in the Marriott Hotel, and I'm going to do a video and we're going to stop in a minute. But you'll see here the whole part of it is the Marriott Hotel, the HANN WIDUS, the HANN Casino. I'll do a drive-by, and also the SwissHotel. And hats off to the guy from HANN. He managed to convince the Marriott Hotel to be part of the complex there. Now there's two elements to this. There's the HANN Resort, which is this. You'll see there, HANN Casino Resort. through the trees. And you've got the Swissotel, the Hann Resort, the Marriott Hotel, which I've stayed in, and the WIDUS Hotel. And underground there's a huge, great big car park where you can park and everything. Now, that's the Hann Resort. And then out in New Clark City, which we're going to go to, and I'll show you in a video, is going to be Hann Reserve, and that's massive. I've read an article which I'm going to read out to you in another video, and that is basically going to be international schools, residential, business park, and absolutely everything, which is huge. And the development is happening. I think stage 1 is nearly complete, and I'm going to show you that from the outside, like the entranceway, and they've almost finished the first golf course, which is a Jack Niklaus designed one, Niklaus golf design. And they're going to have 3 golf courses there. It's going to be 3 18-hole golf courses. Absolutely unbelievable development. I'll show you that. But this one I wanted to show you anyway. And I'm going to talk about this once I park the bike up and settle myself in. Right, I'm off my bike. I'm on the small bike today, the PCX. Now, this development is massive. The WIDUS Hotel and the Marriott were the first to arrive. The WIDUS is a little bit more established as a resort, hotel and casino. I've had a New Year's Eve party in there where you pay for like a buffet dinner and fireworks and stuff. And it was okay. That was about maybe 10 years ago. The Marriott Hotel I've stayed in, now that's a 5-star hotel. And the story behind it is all of this kind of resort was basically the idea of the guy from HANN Resort, the Korean guy, who basically took many, many years being really pushy and said to Marriott, look, we want your hotel as part of this group, this resort. And the Marriott Hotel Group were very, very reticent about doing that because they didn't believe that Clark was the right sort of area with the right sort of geographic and clientele for a 5-star hotel. Now, after many, many years of trying to convince the Marriott Group, they eventually caved through to the HANN guys' persistence, and the Marriott Hotel sprung up. Now, I went there about 6 years ago. They had a fantastic deal for New Year's Eve. It was staying overnight. You had champagne dinner and watch all the fireworks. New Year's Eve evening with a disco and everything else. Staying overnight, wake up and have full buffet hot breakfast in the morning. And it was about 12,000 pesos for 2 people. I thought, that's the deal of the century. That was 6 years ago. It was fantastic. The exchange rate was like 62 pesos to the pound at the time. So it was £200, but it was absolutely unbelievable. Really, really good. I've always checked coming up to New Year's Eve whether or not they'll have New Year's Eve parties, because it really is a great place for a New Year's Eve, believe me. And everybody gets dressed up and it's really good. And kids eat for free there. But of course, because of its popularity, they have New Year's Eve now. Whoop. Maybe I'll add that to the edit. The wind came and blew over my tripod and the camera, so you might notice that I'm pointing in a slightly different direction, but hey, you know, it's about as authentic as it comes. Now, recently, the last few New Year's Eves, I've checked on whether or not the New Year's Eve parties are available, and they are, but it's about 10, 15,000 pesos just for the ticket for the New Year's Eve party. That's not including accommodation or breakfast or anything else. So it's a lot more expensive now. The interesting thing about the Marriott, although it's a 5-star hotel, the guy from the HANN Resort, which convinced them to actually put the hotel here, was spot on, because the occupancy rate, I'll read this in the article, which I'll come on to. This is kind of like a prelude to the article I'll read to you. The occupancy rates of Marriott Hotel, I believe, are close to 90 to 95%, which for any hotel under the current climate is fantastic. It's really encouraging numbers. The hotel inside is definitely 5-star. I've eaten at I think it's the Goji restaurant, which is like their all-day buffet restaurant, and that's about 2,500 pesos a head. On the weekend, it's about 2,800 or 3,000 pesos a head. But on the weekend, you have like surf and turf. It's all steak and lobster and crab, seafood. as well as all the usual during the week buffet goings on. So, and it's fantastic. You go and help yourself to whatever you want, and you know, you get stuffed. But I went there once last year when I was really, really strict on my carnivore diet. And I was with a friend of mine, and I said, look, I'm on carnivore diet. I don't want any of the pasta or the rice or anything else, any of the stews. What can I have? And they had this huge, great big side of beef, which they'd slow cooked. And he just carved off a few chunks of almost like sirloin and ribeye for me, and flash grilled it on this huge grill that they got. The camera blew again, but I don't really want to move it. And they flash grilled the steak for me, and it's the tastiest steak I've had since I was in like Ipanema and Rio in Brazil. Absolutely gorgeous steak. I'll never forget it. It's just literally melt in your mouth. It's so tasty. And then I talked to another chef on one of the other service stations and said, look, I'm sort of carnivore and stuff. I don't really go into carbs much. And he said, oh, well, I got some wraps. What's your favorite meat? And I basically said, well, apart from steak, my favorite meat is lamb and duck. And you don't get much lamb here in the Philippines. You don't get much lamb in Asia, full stop. Goat is probably easier to get than lamb. But you can buy lamb in places like S&R and stuff. It's not so common in like SM and Robinsons and stuff like that. But certainly in Landers and S&R, you can buy frozen lamb. It costs an absolute fortune for frozen lamb here. But anyway, I digress. He said, oh, we haven't got lamb, sir, but we've got duck. We've got like crispy Peking duck. Do you want that? And I'm like, oh, yes, please. So he made me these lovely wraps just with a little bit of shredded lettuce and some onion, spring onion, and roasted Peking duck with a side of plum sauce. Absolutely out of this world. Really lovely. So I was a little bit keto because I had these wraps with it, which is beautiful. But the duck and the steak in the Goji restaurant as part of the buffet is absolutely fantastic. Now you see all of these people coming in, queuing up to go in, either WIDUS, Marriott or the HANN Casino. This place is really busy. The thought of casinos, to be honest with you, kind of makes my flesh crawl, because I know that you look at like Bet360 or 365, whatever it's called in the UK, all the Premiership football teams seem to be sponsored by online betting companies, and casinos ruin people's lives. I know it's up to the individual. Smoking can kill, so don't smoke, you know. If you do drugs, it's your own fault. But casinos do obviously attract high rollers. They're very, very profitable. And there are there's a lot of whispers in and around the international markets that casinos are obviously a hub for a lot of money laundering issues. And I won't mention it on this channel, but I have got very personal experience of people that have been close to me that have had instances where they know people that specifically come over from places like Korea with cash and wash it through places like the HANN casinos here and stuff. They turn a blind eye because the house doesn't mind as long as it wins more, and people are looking to clean sort of 30 cents on the dollar. That's all they got to do for all of these mafioso groups back in Korea, China, wherever. So you get that element. You also get people that get a gambling habit and it ruins lives. It ruins their life, ruins their family's lives. People commit suicide over it. And people will gamble, whether it's online. People will gamble on Gcash. People are online gambling. You know, people can earn a salary of 500 peso, 1,000 peso a day, and they'll go and waste it gambling online. And then they're ashamed to go home to their family. Maybe they've got children. Maybe the mother needs milk for the baby or something. And they're just shameful, really, what happens. So I know casinos can be great fun as well, in moderation. But let's face it, they're here to make money, aren't they? But anyhow, certainly one of the aspects of being a very highly profitable business, aside from any issues there might be with regards to dodgy clientele or money laundering, is the fact that if they do make a lot of money, they can reinvest some of that money. And one thing that the owner of the HANN Resort here is doing he's building, it started building, nearly finished phase 1 of what's known as the Hann Reserve. Now the Hann Reserve is in New Clark City. We are currently in Clark Freeport, which is part of the old American Air Force Base. But further out is NCC, New Clark City, where the new stadium is, the Aquatics Centre, and everything that they used, all the facilities that they used to host the Asian Games some years ago. That is gradually expanding. Now, the Hann Reserve, not the Hann Resort, but the Hann Reserve is going to be sort of a multi-discipline, 3 18-hole golf courses, which I'll talk about in the article that I'll read out to you. But also commercial, residential, and international school, business parks, IT, and everything else. And it's a huge development. And the guy is literally just bankrolling the whole thing. I'm going to take you there to show the entrance and show you what's going on, and you can get a glimpse over the hedge, like over the hedgerows, as to the Jack Nicholas golf course, which is virtually complete, along with the golf club and clubhouse and everything else. That's stage 1, but all told, it's going to be massive. And I think the HANN Group is pushing the bases development company to a BCDC, is it? Bases Development Conversion, pushing it to say, look, we want to have the ability to sell residential. And there are issues if you look at buying, say, a condominium in Clark, because all of this land under the bases conversion is leasehold, which means you can't ever buy it infinitum and own it forever in perpetuity. It's only leasehold. And a lot of these condos that you can see for sale, they've got the remainder of, say, 50 years lease left. And you can buy a condo that's going to cost you 15 million peso, and you've got 30 years left on the lease if you're lucky. Well, then maybe that's okay for you if you're in your 50s or 60s. You think, okay, by the time I'm 90, I'm going to be dead, so what? But when you think about legacy planning and what's there going to be there for the next generation, well, you know, you're not going to be able to renew that lease. Or if you do renew it under the current provisions, you have to renew it at the cost, the value that the bases development company assess your condo at. Now, of course, what are they going to do? They're going to assess the value quite high. You're not going to bother. You're going to walk away from it, and bingo, they got a condo for free off of you. That's generally, I think, what's going to happen. So they need to kind of cement more of a sort of buyer protection arrangement whereby you can renew the leases for longer. So you can have, like, say, a 100-year lease. You can in Clark and New Clark City. They've recently introduced 100-year leases, but that's commercial, not residential, and it's commercial for large-scale commercial projects, a bit like what the HANN Group is doing. For smaller businesses or for residential, it's 50 years. Sure, you can renew those leases, but you're not guaranteed to be able to renew them for nothing. So if you bought a condo for 6 million, and in 25, 30, 40 years, whenever the lease runs out, they value it and say, oh, well, it's worth 20 million now. You either cough up 20 million to renew your lease, or you walk away from it. Well, if you're in your 80s or 90s, what are you going to be doing coughing up another 20 million? You're not going to be doing it, are you? You're going to be walking away from it. But anyhow, that might well change in the future if they look at opening up these areas to residential. And again, it might be sort of a basis whereby the HANN Group has a 100-year lease on it, on all of the land, and they build units and say, okay, you can buy this unit, you'll never own the land because it's leasehold, but you'll own it for 100 years. Well, that's good enough for me, and it's good enough for my son, you know, so that's okay. That's certainly more attractive than 50 years, and then you got to either pay again or walk away. Right, just touching on the Marriott again. 5-star hotel, well, I'm not sure what it's like in the US, but in the UK, a 5-star hotel, you have valet parking. If you're very wealthy in Asia, okay, you've probably got a driver that's going to drive you, and you'll get out of the car and just walk into the hotel and leave the parking and everything else for the driver to worry about. Yeah, sure, there is that side to it. The other side of it is if you happen to be driving a fancy Land Cruiser or a Ferrari or something, or a Maserati, and you're driving with your partner and you pull up at the Marriott Hotel, they don't have valet parking, which means you've got to go down in the car park and park your car. Now, okay, there's secure private lifts from the basement up into the hotel lobby that's shared between like the HANN Group, and you can walk through to the Marriott, etc. But come on, guys, 5-star hotel in London, you wouldn't dream of not having valet parking. You just, there you go, you hand your keys to the valet, and you get a ticket. You don't worry about it. They have valet parking in SM, but not there. They didn't up until a few months ago, which I sort of question, well, surely that is an absolute basic requirement of 5-star hotel to have valet parking. But as far as the rooms and the bed sheets and the linen and the service and the overall ambience of the Marriott hotel, yeah, it's definitely 5-star. It's very well run. And as I said, the Goji restaurant is a lovely restaurant. And they have a very popular Chinese restaurant, I believe, up on the 2nd floor. I've not been in it, but it's supposed to be really, really good as well. There's also 3 very popular restaurants in the Hann Resort there. I've not been in them, but I'm gonna go into them. The only reason I've not visited those restaurants is because it's within a casino, and I've got issues personally with regards to casinos, because I don't really like what they represent. But that's my own mental barrier. Maybe I've got to get over that. I know that some people do gamble responsibly, and they enjoy it, and they enjoy the whole environment of it. Now, I'm not disputing that, but these sort of places scare me and that they intimidate me, because I see a lot of people wasting a lot of money in the past in the UK, in places like the Grosvenor casinos in the UK. And I know friends that have blown £750 in like 1 hour. And I'm like, what? That's insane. That's crazy. That's more than a lot of people earn in a week or a month, you know? And you've just blown it in an hour playing blackjack or something. That sort of thing frightens me, because a lot of people cannot afford the amounts, the stakes that they're actually gambling there. When I was staying previously in the WIDUS hotel, and I saw a Korean guy there, and he was up on I didn't know that the gambling machines, I just thought you put money in them, or tokens, you know, a bit like one-armed bandits, or coins with buttons and nudges and things. But nowadays you put in a credit card, you know, and he was up about 250,000 peso, and I was watching him as he smoked, and his ass was just hanging off of his cigarette as he was focusing. He was just rolling, and you could gamble like, you could have 100 peso a spin, you could have 500 peso a spin, you could have 1,000 peso a spin, and he was gambling 1,000 pesos a spin on every single one, and sometimes he was winning, sometimes he was losing. I was watching him, and he must have taken about 3 drags out of his cigarette. The rest was just burning out, as he was just literally blinkered, focused on this machine. And literally within 30 minutes, he'd gone from up 250,000 pesos to 0. And he was actually going to get more credit to put in the machine. So where's the enjoyment in that? And that was in 30 minutes, gone. Where's the enjoyment in that? Don't make any sense to me. Maybe I'm just getting too old. Over to the right there is one way to get to Clark International Airport. If you were to go straight on, there's more and more and more development going on over there towards the sort of northwest side of Clark. And we're going to go this way, to the left, towards a couple of other developments, through past the old Fontana golf course, and they've got Olympic-sized swimming pools there, and dropping down into Clark Parade Grounds. So I can show you a couple of nice coffee shops and developments there. And just over to the left there is the Midori, which again is hotel and long stay accommodation. It's incredible, and there's still thousands of hectares of land here to be developed, and this has all popped up in the last few years. That all there, it's a Swissotel. Right, we better go, the traffic light's moving. There's the Midori Hotel on the right there. Good security in there. Quite a popular modern hotel and casino. A lot of these hotels have got casinos as well, because there were obviously massive money spinners. They're cash cows. And the mahogany part, you can turn down there to the right, and there's condos for sales down there. There's other hotels. The W Hotel is down there. That's a hotel that's not been that successful as a hotel. So what the group is doing is selling it off. There's people there that are selling golf balls, and if you lose your golf balls, you can go and buy them there. It's part of the golf course. The golf course is on the left-hand side and the right-hand side. So if you see it as we're going along, you'll see it over the left-hand side as well. Now, there we go there. Lots of people playing golf. I don't play golf myself, but now I'm not sure how well you're going to see that, because today I'm using a wide-angled lens that I ordered on Amazon, and free delivery, free shipping to the Philippines, which was wonderful. So I bought one, because according to a lot of people, if you're going out and about on a motorbike or anything, it's good to get a wider angle. The angle of the dangle equals the heat of the meat, is what they say. Now that was, before it was the Midori. Now a huge development here, you'll see the sign coming up, is Fontana. And the Fontana's got an Olympic-sized swimming pool inside. It's also got luxury villas. On the left-hand side is still part of the golf course. Now inside Fontana, that's the kind of like the main entrance. That's the bottom entrance. There's a top entrance up around the corner. Now they've got a water park in there. It's not the aqua park. They got a water park, an Olympic-sized swimming pool, which is outdoors, which I've swam in before. And you can go into the hotel there, even if the swimming pool is closed. You can go into the hotel about 6 o'clock in the morning and pay to go swimming with the receptionist. And then they'll let you in through a side door at the back to the outdoor area, courtyard area, where the Olympic-sized swimming pool is. They do still sometimes hold swimming events there. They did have an issue in Fontana because immigration or the police or something or other raided Fontana a few years ago. And inside some of the buildings, I think there were about 350 scammers working online in one of these like scam centers, and that was all hidden within the Fontana development. And I'm not sure, I got to be careful, but I'm not sure, but I got an idea that the owner of Fontana sort of absconded or was aware of something that was going on. This is also part of Fontana, but kind of like a lot of the buildings that you see in the back of Clark that are yet to be developed, they all look like, there we go, Fontana, there's a sign there. They all look like they're throwbacks from like the 1960s, 1970s. And very, very old, very unkempt. And that's what a lot of Clark was like when I first moved here, sort of 14 years ago. It was pretty much derelict and a bit of a dump. But boy, is it changing. And Fontana owns a lot of the land around here. But of course, it's still part of the Bases Conversion and Development Corporation, BCDC or whatever it is. Now we're coming up to a junction now, and the reason I got the camera still on is because at this junction here we're coming up to, if you go straight on, you'll go to the Clark Safari, and which is the zoo. And then if you turn left, which we're going to do, we're going to go down to the Clark Parade Ground. Very friendly around here. All around Clark you get a lot of cyclists on the weekends. Most days, but certainly, I mean, it's Friday today, so Friday, Saturday, Sunday there'll be cyclists around. There's certain areas which are dedicated cycle paths, all the way from Clark, all the way down to SM in Clark. Up on the left here, and you might be able to see through the trees, there's some luxury villas that were built within the Hilton hotel complex. And you'll see them in a moment, because we're going to go left. But we got to stop here. Sometimes there's bases security here that are watching you to make sure that you do actually physically stop. You know, first to stop, first to go sort of situation. There's the villas up on the top of the hill. Now those villas have got a wonderful, wonderful view. But a lot of them are about $2 million US to buy. Yeah, you heard that. 2 million. They got their own little private swimming pools. They're like 4-bedroom villas. And bearing in mind that $2 million US gets you the remainder of a 50-year lease. So you're spending $2 million and you're getting what, 30 odd years, I think, which in my mind's eye is a complete waste of money. There's no longevity there. But it's a very, very wealthy area. We're coming up towards the Hilton Hotel on the right hand side and D Heights condominiums. And also in there is the new Singapore International School. I'll just pull over a little bit so you can see what I'm talking about. Because this is all sprung up. When I first came here, nothing was here. Absolutely nothing. It was just wasteland. I got off the bike. Now this area again is massive development. The Hilton Hotel is quite nice. I've had dinner in there, and yeah, it's quite nice. I don't think it's anything much to write home to. It's got a nice kind of like a flat infinity pool area with sun loungers that go into the swimming pool out the back. I can hear a rooster. So still a lot of farmland around there. You know, well, ex-farmland. It's on the base, but it looks very provincial. Anyway, over here is D Heights, condominiums, which are yet to be finished. And of course, up on the hill here, which I'll just spin around. So you can see up on the hill there, those are the VIP, very, very exclusive villas. A lot of them with private swimming pools and everything else. Personally, I wouldn't go anywhere near something that's on a lease. Not in the Philippines. That's my own preference. There's plenty of condos that you could buy in town in St. Angela's or elsewhere that's not on bases land, which means that you can own them in perpetuity. A lot of foreigners buy in Angela City in places like Kanji Towers and stuff, and you can own them forever. And then if you die, you can pass them on to somebody else. So it's like freehold property. Even though you don't own the land that the condominium obviously sits on, you own the condominium freehold, even though the total development's leasehold. That's fine. There's nothing wrong with that. That's kind of makes a lot of sense. That was the same situation as the beautiful condo corner unit that I had in Thailand that I owned forever and a day. Sold that now. Within this development here is the Singapore High School. Now the interesting thing about the Singapore High School, Clark, is that it runs the Cambridge curriculum, same as the UK. So a lot of kids that come out of that school are fast track into universities into the UK. And that's quite important if, say, if you're sort of upper middle class and you're looking for a very, very good education for your children, and you can afford it because it's not cheap. When I last looked, when I inquired, they quoted me for, my son was K2 at the time, so he was in the second grade, and is that what? I don't know. Anyway, he was 6 years old, whatever that is. I don't know if they use the same system now in the UK. I can know it's like K1 to 12, or I don't know what's kindergarten and what's not. But anyway, he was 6 years old, and they quoted me 450,000 peso a month, which was 4 times the price of where he was going before in a Montessori school. So I said, okay, thanks very much for that. And I put the phone down and thought, crikey, I'm not paying that money. But anyhow, they've got a huge take up, so a lot of people are. It's an option for you if you're so inclined. Right, going to carry on driving down past the Hilton Hotel, and we're going to go into the parade grounds, which is all part of the original American Air Force Base. And the parade ground is a large, obviously, parkland area. It's got barn houses surrounding it, which are now being developed into like cafes and restaurants and leisure facilities. But the parade ground still exists, and it's very popular for Tai Chi and people walking around. We're going to head that way now. I'm just going to pass and show you the Hilton Hotel on the way. You can literally walk and cycle for hundreds of miles around Clark. You might have to do 1 or 2 circuits in order to achieve that mileage, but trust me, there's a cyclist down there, and over on the left hand side is a raised walkway. You can walk all the way around. They're just literally hundreds of kilometers you can walk. There's a walkway around there on the left. The entrance to the Heights and the Hilton main entrance for the residential area is there. We're passing. There we go. Very expensive condos. They're around about 10 million plus. I think you get a little small studio for about 6 or 7 million. That's not something that interests me. Again, with the sort of leasehold arrangement that they are. But the whole area is developed, is continuing to be developed. There's a Hilton. And there is money, there is a lot of money coming into this area. I'll talk about it more when I'm not on the bike. But essentially, whereas before the demographic was Americans, Europeans and Australians, the demographic now is pretty much Korean. A lot of Korean money. They love to gamble as well. And the cyclist over there. And of course, there are a lot of very, very wealthy Filipinos. I know a lot of Filipinos live in poverty, but it's that disparity between the haves and the have-nots, the rich and the poor, the 1%ers and the 99%ers. This park has had a lot of money spent on it recently. It's one of 2 very, very popular children's parks. I took my son in there when he was younger, and they just actually spent a lot of money developing it. It's got lovely children's equipment there and rubberized flooring, so if they fall off the climbing frames and stuff, they're not going to hurt themselves too much. And a wonderful thing about Clark, because you can appreciate as we're driving along, is they maintain a lot of the trees. The trees are all still here. They're beautiful. They were planted, like, some of them are 100, 200 years old. And there's lots and lots of trees around. It really is an absolutely special place. And bearing in mind, this is thousands of hectares. And I'm going to show you after this video, we're going to be riding up to New Clark City, and take into consideration that's still within Clark, but it's New Clark City, and it's 38 kilometers north. Now that'll give you an idea of the size of what we're talking about here. Right, shut up Andrew, let's get down to the parade grounds. There's a nice little shortcut here. Some of these are the Clark administration offices on the right. A lot of the administration was done in the barn houses, but the barn houses are very popular for businesses to use now and convert into little cafes and restaurants and coffee shops and things. Now that reminds me of the stock market in London and in the UK. They always say, in business, you should grab the bull by the horns. Either that or, if you come to the Philippines, expect to deal with a lot of bullshit. Now, what other little funny one-liners can I say with regards to this? This one's huge, this guy. Look at the size of him. I'm going to put my tripod down and I'm going to show you. See if I can get an appreciation of the size of him. Is he in shot? Yes, he is. Look at the size of this one. Now, bearing in mind that I'm 6'3", guys. So he's a big fella, this one. Very, very big fella. I'm sure there's a few other jokes. Here, look what I found. He's feeling very horny. No, gotta stop. Gotta stop. My pathetic senses of humour. But he's a massive guy, isn't he? Look, let's have a look at side on. Now that's in Clark, outside one of the administration buildings. Right. Wouldn't be right if we didn't have a bit of anal. Sorry. Oh dear. I don't know what I'm going to say on that video. Oh, dearie me. Reminds me of my ex-wife, is that right? I don't know. But he's big, and he's huge. Anyhow, there you go. Raging Bull. Now I'm going to go around the parade grounds and then I'm going to show you a more modern building. I just want to go around, show you here. One thing that the Philippines does really well, although they've still got their Christmas decorations up, you'll see on some of the bridges now, they've removed the Christmas decorations and they've got the Valentine's decorations up. So they've got love hearts and I love you and everything else on a lot of the bridges and around. Orange Run, well that happened obviously. A run. A lot of fitness activities here on that parade ground. So much going on there. You know, as a place to retire, I'm going to touch on this more in other videos, but I get a lot of people talking to me about where's a good place to retire and live in the Philippines. Well, it really does depend on what you want. Look at all of these trees, guys. Now, when my son was younger, he was playing around in this playground. He loved the tubes and stuff. Some of the equipment got damaged for a while, but then they fixed it all, which was great. And just look at all of these beautiful trees. There's so many different trees. The maturity of these trees. And look at the lovely land. Hopefully you can see that in the camera. I'm not sure how this camera is, if it's good at picking up the minute details of what's around. But there's lovely lanterns that are all coloured like that will light up in the evening. It's beautiful, you know. I don't come out much in the evening. Anyway, we're coming down towards the tennis courts. And there were lots of food courts there on the left. And I was talking to somebody from the Clark administration, member of staff recently, that said that unfortunately, a lot of those businesses went bust because they opened up the food court and then, of course, COVID came and the businesses just couldn't stay afloat. There's the Clark Development Corporation, there's the tennis courts there, which are very popular. A lot of people go and play tennis there. And people are really friendly, you know. You've got to be respectful, and you've got to respect people's privacy, especially you can't go, you know, I'm always a bit conscious about sticking a camera in people's faces. But if you generally ask security and point towards your camera, and they'll give you a little nod, or they'll say no. That's one of the barn houses there. And another one there. Cafe Meza, that's been there a long time. Both the crab one and the cafe one. Cafe Meza has been there a long time. And these are old barn houses which were US Army administration offices, which are now being converted. They're traditional barn houses, very historical. They converted into various grills and coffee shops and stuff. And beautiful setting because they're right opposite the parade grounds there, which is, as I said, although it's the main sort of central, most well-known park in the Philippines. They're new, the CRs that have been built there. It's not the only one. There's around Clark, there's a few parks and playgrounds and things to do. The barn houses I absolutely love down here. Some of those are, most of them are sort of recreational. They're cafes and little restaurants and stuff. But some are administrative as well. And they're wonderful. I absolutely love this style. Very, very unique to this sort of area. Look at it, guys. They're like little mini bungalows. I'd love to have a bungalow that looked like that, just raised off the ground. Look how popular they all are. And it's Friday morning, 10:30. You guys, you know, there's foreigners there, all expats. You know, you want to sit out and stuff. People go on about Dumaguete. Dumaguete's got absolutely bugger all compared to Clark. Absolutely nothing. I know, I lived there. And there's sod all to do. Look, there's another foreigner there. Hello. Doing his little walk round. That's the jogging track, the walking track around the parade ground area. And people walk around there doing their keep fit and stuff like that. All times of day. It's 10:30 in the morning, so it's starting to get warmer. In the evening, it's very, very popular. On the grass, the Central Park, they do various sports like soccer, Tai Chi and everything else. And like Zumba. Amazing, all free, guys. And you see all of these lanterns in the trees. The trees are just, look at the trees are just absolutely stunning, and they're all over Clark. It is absolutely breathtaking. I know, you know, Philippines isn't perfect. A lot of people say, oh, the Philippines is a dump. You know, it's a shithole, excuse my language. And yeah, a lot of it is. But when you come to somewhere like Clark, you're scratching your head to think, there is very little in Asia that can compare to Clark. Very, very little at all. And when you start to see New Clark City, it's going to blow your mind. Maybe not even in my lifetime it'll all be finished, but the Hann Reserve there is almost finished phase 1 of 3 or 4 phases. So it is happening, guys. And they've got the Sacobia Bridge now, the yellow bridge which goes over, and it's absolutely wonderful. I'm going to show that to you. But if we just keep on going before we go round, you'll see way off in the distance there's lots of restaurants that are backing up here. Morning! Workers. There's the Clark Museum, really good museum, very, very fascinating. They have different displays in there. I think they had a gallery d'art or whatever. It was art exhibition there recently, which was really, really fantastic. And they've got gallery 1, gallery 2, or they've got various different things. Obviously the school kids go into the theatre, and it's great. It's got a lot of historical stuff. A lot of kids can learn about the war that was here, and everything else about Filipino history and stuff. You've got a cannon there. I think you've got an old World War II gun over there. Yeah, that's very good. Plenty of guns in the Philippines. More coffee shops, and there's a 7-Eleven over the other side. And there's a lot of these popular Korean barbecue places. A place down there which is called Bikes, Cycles and Brew. I'll just take a quick run down there so you can see it. This is very popular on the weekends with literally hundreds, if not thousands, of cyclists that come into Clark cycling around because it's very, very safe, and there's cycle lanes and everything else. And this place, I've had coffee in there, it's quite nice coffee. This place has popped up in here, Cycles and Brew, and there's a lovely little coffee shop and bike shop, and you can get your bikes fixed and everything else. And they've got areas where you can hang your bikes up. They've got bicycles in there which are the equivalent of $15,000, £12,000. Seriously, guys, they got some really, really crazy expensive bikes in there that like made out of carbon fiber and about as heavy as a cigarette box, you know. And Korean barbecue places and restaurants there. I've been in a couple of those. Again, absolutely fantastic. That's a lovely little coffee shop. There's another cafe next to it. You're literally, and there's a cafe over here, bar and resto over there, which I'll show you. That literally, there's you will never run out of coffee shops and restaurants in Clark. You will never. There's absolutely everything here. And as soon as they sort out more residential condominium type arrangements for people to either rent on a long-term basis rather than short stay, and also to buy, this place is going to be absolutely pumped full of long stay expats. It's going to happen. Now I'm going to come up now to what is my favourite building. A lot of you guys will know I've spoken before on camera that I'm not an architect. I don't know anything about buildings, but I love architecture. I know what I like, both new and old. I love Tudor, Victorian, Georgian architecture in the UK, and I've walked all around Old Town in Dubai and watched the Burj Khalifa. It was being built. Managed to go up there, even though it hadn't finished. They allowed me up there in the lift because that was working, and that was great. That was a real experience. And I love the new architecture in Dubai with the skyscrapers, and I love the old red brick in New York. And there's a kids area down there which used to be able to ride and drive through that part, but it's all blocked off now and pedestrianised, so the kids can play with their cycles and their go-karts. And they've painted a little fake road, like a little kids toy town area that they can drive and their go-karts around and stuff. Absolutely brilliant. Real thought has gone into that, and of course it's really popular on the weekend. There are rarities. There are some houses on the right hand side that are either privately owned or you can rent them. They're quite expensive to rent because of the location. They're right on the opposite the parade ground. But you can, occasionally they come up for rent. And trust me, when they come up for rent, even if they're like 75,000 pesos a month or something, they get snapped up within days of going on the market for rent because they're incredibly rare. There's only a handful of them along here, and then that's it. There will be, I'm sure there'll be more development over this side in the future because it is happening. And I talk about architecture and stuff because I know what I like, and I love 1920s and 1930s Art Deco. Now the reason I mention that is right in front of us, coming up to it at the end of this road, is a new cafe restaurant which is being bankrolled by a Korean, and it used to be a rank of shops including a 7-Eleven with a Union Bank on the end, and that all got demolished apart from the bank, I think, which is still at the end. And they've built this coffee shop restaurant, Andaman or something, whether it's called Andaman, and maybe I'm thinking of Andaman Sea in Thailand, but you're coming up to it now, and I think it's very representative of that Art Deco style. Right in the middle of like Clark Parade Grounds. Take a look at it, guys. The building is absolutely stunning. I wanted to show you it. It looks almost a bit like the side of a yacht, like a ship, you know. Yeah, a Veterans Bank. There we go. The Veterans Bank's still at the end. Let's just come up to it here, so you can get a closer look. Now, this all used to be a rank of shops with a 7-Eleven. I used to stop off and get a drink when I'm thirsty. And then you still got the Veterans Bank at the end. But this building here is very kind of Art Deco, 1920s, 1930s-esque. Really nice inside. It's already had its soft opening. And I've been reading the feedback of this, Andante, there we go. And it's had mixed reviews. Obviously, if you have a soft opening, you got to get the service right and the staff right. The general consensus is that it's not cheap. It's the new kid on the block, so it's going to be commanding premium prices. But because of the amount of competition, whether or not they're going to be able to command those prices in the future, well, the jury's out on that one. I don't think they will. In order to remain competitive, they're going to have to price themselves quite competitively. But it's a building, I thought I'd show you that because all of this is very old school and traditional with all the beautiful trees and the parade ground and everything else all around here. And then you look at this, and although it sticks out like a sore thumb, one could argue that the Shard and the Gherkin in London stick out like a sore thumb in and around a traditional London, but I think that's stunning. I wouldn't want to clean the windows unless I had the window cleaning contract. They'd make a lot of money out of that building. But it's wonderful, and I think it looks a bit like a ship. Don't you? Like, I don't know. Yeah, it looks like one of these like luxury yachts. Very unusual design. Apparently they did have a lot of problems with it because there's very limited parking and there's nothing at the rear. So people have got to park elsewhere, but there is parking way out over there. So I'm sure that's just people being fussy. They're not able to park right outside the front door like a lot of lazy people are nowadays. Now next to it is a fantastic coffee shop that we're going to go into. It is my favourite place in Clark. It used to be an administrative building. And when I first went in there, I was talking to the ladies that were having coffee there. And one of them said, oh yeah, upstairs here, this used to be my office. Which is a fantastic story. And she said, yeah, where you're sat now, sir, is probably where my desk was. So we're going to go in there upstairs for coffee. And it's got a lovely little view out over the parade grounds. And they have nice little coffee, like far more character than anywhere like Starbucks or anything like that. Lovely coffee. And it's next to this place, which probably charges 3 times as much for a cup of coffee. So we're going to go in there now because I love it. It's really nice. On the ground floor are these 2 establishments, Potato Corner and Master Siami. And then upstairs is the coffee shop. Now we're going to go upstairs to the coffee shop. There's the signs from it from the outside. And there's the view you get from upstairs, you know, right across the parade grounds. Absolutely fantastic place to have a coffee. Absolutely wonderful. You can forget your Starbucks. This is what it's all about. Decent coffee. It was great service when I first came in here. And we're going to go up the stairs. I'm going to close the door because it's nice air conditioning. Up the steps. Now last time I came in here, I had wonderful, wonderful coffee. So here it is again. And the staff are really, really friendly. Hi, good morning. How are you? Say hello. Right, I'm going to turn off the camera, I'm going to order my coffee, and then I'm going to get back to you and show you the view from out the windows because it's absolutely fantastic. It's beautiful. Forget your Starbucks. These are the sorts of places that you should be supporting. These local businesses, good service, great coffee. Right, the gentleman's making my coffee. Obviously, I've got here early and nobody else is here. Normally, this is really, really busy, this place, but it is a bit early still. What is the time? Just going to check the time now. The time is 5 to 11 in the morning on Friday morning. I'll just give you a show of the view out the windows because the view out the window is absolutely fantastic out there. Now I'll move out of the way of the camera and hopefully you can see out there that where that guy's putting down cones, that's all pedestrianised with like flowers and paintings. And further down that road is all pedestrianised with like, it looks like a street. And all the kids under this area, all the kids now over there under the tarpaulin are bikes that you can rent and you can hire, little pedal go-karts that kids can pedal around in. There's also little trikes that you can go like a little family, like little pedalos that you can go around and have a really good time and like cycle around. Really, really great family vibe. And that area is called Bike and Play Clark. I hope you enjoyed that little drive around Clark, and I'm going to go now to New Clark City. I'll turn the camera on as we get over the new Sacobia Bridge that heads out from Clark towards New Clark City, so you can see that. And then going to stop off at the Hann Reserve development and try and see if we can see just over the hedgerows towards the golf course, the first golf course, the Jack Niklaus course, in the distance, because it's quite interesting because that's all happening, and in the future it's going to be a massive development, as I said, with an international school, business, residential, parks, sports facilities, all recreational facilities. It's massive. It's going to be it's like a lifestyle venue, all encompassing. Going to be cheap? No, of course it's not, but it's happening, and I think it's going to really help to solidify Clark as being like the #1 destination in the Philippines. There were a lot of government administrative offices and also the University of the Philippines, which are going to be moving their main business hubs and their main campuses to New Clark City from outside of Manila, and much to the benefit of, I think, everybody with regards to like the traffic issues. And there are a lot of ways into New Clark City now off of various expressways, the NLEX and the SC-TEX. So it's got great infrastructure, and of course you've also got on the doorstep the airport at Clark, the Clark International Airport, which is continuing to expand, and they're talking about building yet another runway, which is going to be incredible. And a lot of people that have flown into Clark, myself included, once you've done it once, you don't want to fly into NAIA ever again or anywhere else, because it's just absolutely seamless. The only issue, of course, is flight delays and cancellations that seem to be quite frequent with certain carriers in Asia. But that's the one side. If you land in Clark, you can basically be out the door within a few minutes. It's wonderful. Thank you. My coffee has just arrived. Now check that out, guys. Absolutely beautiful cafe latte. Wow. Strong, great depth of flavour. Wonderfully presented there. Can you see that? Yeah, I guess you can. I've got a wide-angled lens on at the moment. Now, the reason I put a wide-angled lens on rather than my standard lens on this GoPro Action 5 is to get more of a wide-angle perspective when I was going along on the motorcycle, so I didn't want to miss anything out, because I'm holding it. I haven't gotten any attachment to go on the bike yet. I'm going to get an attachment to go on my big bike, but my big motorcycle is in the motorcycle hospital at the moment. So I'm waiting for it to get fixed. I've got parts coming over from Austria for it. So it's going to be off the road for a few weeks. But anyhow, I love coffee shops. I don't smoke or drink anymore. I like coffee shops. I like the coffee shop vibe, whether it's in the UK or Europe, or Asia. I've always liked going to coffee shops, and I love going to coffee shops that are not like Starbucks or like Coffee Bean or something, which is a popular Coffee Bean. I think is better value for money than Starbucks in the Philippines. They give you like free water, iced water and everything else, and it seems to be much better. But people are creatures of habit. They know what they're going to get in Starbucks. So wherever you are in the world, you go to a Starbucks, you pretty know what you're going to get. So I can understand people doing that. But if you can support these local companies that make far better coffee, it's really, really tasty, 140 pesos, wonderful, then you should. Especially when you've got a view, a panoramic view all the way around. It's 3/4 of a way around, all the way around like that. They really have played to their strengths in the view that they got. Absolutely wonderful. Okay, it's only a small little place. It's got maybe 20 tables there. There it is. But I've been here on a Saturday lunchtime when they had the International Barbecue Festival out on the parade ground. That's in the previous video. We saw the people with their barbecue stuff, their barbecue and meats. Absolutely wonderful. Where else are you going to get that in the Philippines? You're not. Absolutely great. Beautiful view, lovely coffee, great vibe, good value for money, air conditioned, nice and comfortable. Enjoy. Now we're still in Clark now. We're heading towards the new Clark City. And a lot of the area here on both the left and the right is still part of the Philippine Air Force. There we go, you're entering the Air Force Base. And a lot of service personnel here. There's the Air Force Hospital to the right hand side. I love Air Force City Hospital. Again, really appreciate these beautiful trees. Absolutely beautiful. Such a massive area. There's a church over there, which is popular. Bit of sculpture. And you do have to obey in Clark these first to stop, first to go. You do really have to obey these and be careful, you know. Just let him go. Obviously he doesn't, but there's the old theatre there. I've done a walk around with that theatre. That theatre was very popular whilst the Americans were there, and I've done a walk around and talked about the history of that theatre. Now we're going over towards the left. We're going to pass the Hotel Stotsenberg on the right hand side. This hotel has been here for absolutely ages, but it's been developed over the last, say, 10 years to incorporate, surprise, surprise, a casino in order to give it like a second wind. Again, appreciate all of the trees, guys, and the nature here. The area is kind of breathtaking, really, what is here. And bearing in mind that the traffic reg, there's no jeepneys apart from specific jeepneys on the main road to come into Clark. There's no trikes or anything like that, you'll notice. And traffic regulations are quite strictly enforced here. So you've got to behave yourself. You can't just do U-turns ad hoc. If you get spotted, you will be subject to fines. You're also not allowed to lane split in Clark either. People do, and yeah, people might get away with it, but the Clark base's security, if they have you, they'll have you. And about a traffic infringement fine, I think, is about 2,800 pesos, so it's not cheap. And also, unlike the police, that, believe it or not, are not allowed to take your license away from you if they stop you. They confiscate it. They do try it on. In the Clark Freeport, they're allowed to, and they'll confiscate your license, and until you pay the fine, you're not able to get your license back. So same rules do not apply in Clark as to what may apply outside of the Freeport. So do be aware of that. There's a casino part of Hotel Stotsenberg. Again, they like casinos, but it's personal preference. Next up is Cafe Dia. Now, Cafe Dia it's sprung up over the last few years. Originally, it was just a cafe and restaurant. Now it's got luxury villas that you can hire out. It's got a hotel, and I'm just going to going to show you this. It's incredible. A friend of mine is actually the HR manager here, who I know very, very well. If you just come down here and check this out, guys, it's absolutely incredible. You've got the gardens, the play area, you've got rooftop bars, you've got little eggs and mushrooms, whatever that is about. You've got a spa, you've got treatment, you've got now the hotel, you've got a couple of hotels, you've got a grill there, Grill Dia, and it's very, 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 very popular on the evening, all lit up. Kids love it because there's kids play area, plenty of places for you to take your selfies and stuff with various animals and everything else. And I don't know whether you can see it, these beautiful trees here have all got these like teardrop lights, so it looks a bit like snow coming down, and they're lit up in the evening. It looks absolutely stunning. It's beautiful. People waving there at me. And all of these are private villas, with some of them with swimming pools that you can rent out, which are really, really good. There again, Cafe Dia. Inside is beautiful. Quite expensive to have like mango shakes and ice cream shakes and sundaes and things like that. It's not cheap, but it's really popular. You get a lot of bikers here with on big bikes like Ducati Multistradas and BMW GS 1250s and 1300s and stuff, all on the weekend, stopping off and having like a breakfast or a brunch, coffee and what have you. Really, really popular on the weekends. So I'm just giving you a quick little show of that as we head towards the main bridge that takes us to New Clark City. Thought you might be interested in that. And obviously it's a popular place to have wedding photos by the looks of it. Let's go and have a little look. Stick my nose in. Wow. That's the most beautiful thing that's been on my YouTube channel for months. Hi, good morning. Is it still the morning? Yes, just. Look, it looks like a panda there. All lit up again. All of that cage is got lots of little teardrop lights on it, fairy lights on it. So all lights up. And there's obviously some sort of event going on there. Let's go and have a quick look. There's another training establishment, Royce School Incorporated, and a new 7-Eleven. That's all built to the side of the Cafe Dia complex. There's a lot of educational establishments popping up, and the old Clark Military Hospital is the site of the, you've seen it on the previous video that I've done, is the site of the new Philippine Museum. Not just for Pampanga, but for the whole of the Philippines. And that's going to be fantastic. I can't wait to go and see that. So I love the history. Clark obviously has got a very traumatic history. Obviously the Spanish, and then as an American air base, and then obviously during the Second World War being taken over by the Japanese. And we'll pass in a moment. I'll show you where the entrance is to when the Japanese were here, the Kamikaze airfield, where the Kamikaze pilots took off, and obviously a lot of them didn't come back, hence the nature. Incredible history in Clark. And then obviously when the Philippines became independent again after American rule, the whole of the Clark base is run by the base's development, and also the Philippine Air Force at the base. As I said, when I first came here about 14 years ago, it was like going back in time to the 1960s, 1970s, and nothing was happening. I did admire all of the trees and all of the nature, but there wasn't much else here. A lot of the businesses had gone bust. The premises were decrepit. There's a bus, the Genesis bus, that's going towards the new airport. You can get a Genesis bus from SM Clark out to Clark Airport. Likewise, you can get a bus from Clark Airport all the way to Manila. Over on the left-hand side is Texas Instruments. Now that has been here for many years. That was here when I first came here. And Texas Instruments have been established in Clark for a very, very long time. Another business that's been here for a while is Outback. There's their premises there on the right-hand side. Now keep watching, guys. Although there's a little bit of a straight here, on the left-hand side at the moment, you'll see El Cabayo, which is horse riding. So if you've got kids, or you're into horse riding yourself, you got no excuses, because here you got horses, you got lovely places that you can just sit on a horse and be walked around if you can't actually ride, but you're interested in having a little ride on a horse. Or independently, you can ride or show jump and do jumps. And it's sort of a bit like the OK Corral, in that it's kind of like, looks a bit like a Western movie set. You'll see it on the left and you'll get an idea of what I mean. And it's kind of like, yeah, you think like the sheriff's got to be there, and they've got the local county jail and stuff. It's kind of themed, but it's very good. My son's been horse riding there and loves it. And then just after that, you'll see where they're building the new parade picnic grounds.
They're developing it to have more facilities. Now there it is. There it is, like I said, courthouse, sheriff's office, county jail, El Cabayo, however it's pronounced. And this way you can horse ride, and you can ride all your horses along there. There's obviously a little bit of Red Horse sponsorship there, surprise, surprise. And then where the blue tarpaulin is, this is where they're going to be building the new picnic ground area. And there's beautiful trees there. And they're going to have barbecue pits, seating area, shaded areas. Whereas before it was just open land that you could drive on as a picnic area. Now it's going to be more established, to actually putting money into it. Now this is the main road from Clark towards Clark International Airport. The old Clark Airport terminal building was some 4 kilometers behind us. That's Mount Marriott. I've hiked up to the top of that. There's three points to the top of it, and you leave about 4:30 in the morning when it's really dark, and you need a guide. It can be dangerous otherwise. And I've hiked all the way to the top of Mount 1 peak, 2 peaks, and 3 peaks, and then you come down and you finish by about, I think it was midday. I was back down, and very, very tiring. Now I'll move the camera around slightly because there's an entrance here on the left-hand side to what was the Kamikaze Airfield West. Kamikaze Airfield East is over towards Mabalacat. In through those gates there, which is also a firing range, through those gates where there's a security guard, you can access Kamikaze West Memorial. And you might see in the distance those like bunkers that have got grass hills over the little grass mounds. That's where the kamikaze pilots used to live. That's their barracks that are camouflaged. And right in the distance you might see what was yellow bridge. They've now painted it a kind of orange. That's the Sacobia Bridge that we're going to go over. And that didn't exist 5 years ago. That's the new bridge over the river towards New Clark City. I'll turn off the camera and we'll head there now. Now I've turned the camera on a little bit early to the new bridge. I always call it the yellow bridge because it was yellow, and they've repainted it recently and turned it kind of orange. So I must try and refer to it now as the orange bridge. But it's the Sacobia Bridge going over the river, although it's almost like not so much of a river as a previous river, I think, that was carved out through the Mount Pinatubo eruption. On the left-hand side you can see a lot of advertisements for the Clark Airport, because the airport is behind us. And this is the new road that heads towards the bridge. And this part of the road is lovely. The bridge was finished, but the road the other side of the bridge was delayed. And I think when they rushed to build it and to lay it all down, and also perhaps a bit of corruption and not using very good materials, the road to New Clark City is very patchy. It's it's okay if you're in a car, but if you're on a motorcycle, it's very, very bumpy and a lot of vibrations on a small underbone like this. I don't feel it so much on my big motorcycle that's got uprated like Showa independent like suspension, which is very, very good, fully adjustable. Sort of gold standard in suspension, but on an underbone you kind of vibrate your nuts off and it's terrible. And then other parts of it is so smooth and absolutely beautiful, so it's a bit hit and miss. And yeah, I think basically a bit of corruption has something to do with it, using second-rate materials in patches. typical in the Philippines, they pull out on roundabouts, whether you like it or not. They just don't give a shit, a lot of people. You're on a motorcycle, so you got more chance of getting hurt. So it's a case of, you can see what I'm doing, stop or get out of the way. Right, over the bridge. I love this bridge, and I'll just tilt it slightly to the right-hand side, because you'll see there, if you can, a solar farm, which is huge, and that's been there for a while. Now, I couldn't see where I was pointing the camera, but hopefully, I'll check that out in the edit. You can actually see the solar farm. And it's a relatively clear day, so check out that view the other side. This is why I'm using the wide-angled lens today. Hopefully it'll give us a little bit more of a perspective of what's going on. Over in the distance there is like the Puning hot springs, where you can get covered in mud and you've got natural hot springs bubbling up through the earth. Here's the bridge. Which is a great design, really quite funky. The bridge itself, I'd have to look up who actually built it, whether it was a Filipino company, construction company, or Chinese or Japanese or whatever, you know. Be interesting to find that out. But we've come out of Clark, and we've got the airport behind us, and we're going towards New Clark City. And it's gonna be 38 kilometers to the Aquatics Centre and the sports stadium. That'll give an idea of the size and scope of New Clark City. It's going to be like the #1 retirement destination in the future in Asia, trust me. If like the guy from Hann Resorts has got anything to do with it, and HANN Reserve, it's going to be a massive amount of investment. It's already happening. And there is a bit of a balance between messing up Mother Nature and the beautiful greenery and environment. You can see in the distance that some of the mountains, that the forestry, the greenery has been carved away. And yeah, I guess you can't just have swathes of Greenland like Greenbelt. If you hear my voice going, it's because this is part of the road which is very, very bumpy if you're on a underbone scooter. It's terrible. Whoever signed this off needs to be shot. Further on, the road smooths out. You often see fires. There's a big black patch on the right-hand side. And you think, oh, somebody's like dropped a cigarette and caused a bit of a fire. But I spoke to a security guard about it once when I saw a fire at the side of the road. I said, oh, you know, sir, you know, there's a fire. And he looked at me and he sort of like said, oh, it's no problem. They do that. It's a bit like burning the stubble. So they just keep down the growth. If they're going to develop the land, they'll just set fire to it and burn it first. To give them a bit of a head start, I guess. I'll probably speed up. I'll be quiet now, and I won't talk, but I'll speed up this video until we get to like the Hann Reserve, or there's a bit that I think is worth talking about. You can appreciate the amount of work that went into building all this and carving through the mountains. It's quite incredible. And the road's never really that busy. I did see a tank come down the road from Camp O'Donnell Army Base about 6 months ago. That was hilarious. I asked the guys if I could take a picture, and respectively said, oh no, because it's military. Obviously, I asked before I just sort of got my camera out. So I wasn't able to take a picture of that tank coming down the road, but it was actually quite hilarious because you don't expect it. Right, I'll shut up now and enjoy the view. Beautiful mountains and countryside. I forget the name of the resort over to the right there with a sort of funny dome construction. It's when you go in that resort, they've got like it's very Grecian, very like there's lots of like statues there. It's very sort of statuesque. You've got a bit of accommodation there. It's very popular for selfies and things. It looks like a bit like almost like a Roman Colosseum in there, like an amphitheatre and stuff. You can get to it not from this road, but you can get to it from another road in Clark, at the back of Clark. And it's a resort that apparently, I don't know if you can see part of it there, the amphitheatre, just through the trees. And the resort is on the market. I believe it's 1 billion peso is the asking price, which is quite a lot of money, obviously. But one of the key things about that resort is it's got a gaming license, hence the reason for the price, because gaming licenses are very, very hard to come by now, and it's got a gaming license for Clark, which comes as part of the package. So that's why some company might well pay that sort of money for it. Appreciate how much time it took to carve out all of these mountains. There's a few little residential places that are very established. If you see to the top of that hill, slightly to the right, I'm actually probably centre if you're in the camera. There's a little resort there with like very, very small little villas that have got those high-pitched roofs, and you can go and stay in there. That's very well established. You would have in the past had to get to it via some of the little tiny provincial lanes, because it was pretty much a backwater before this road was built. And if you'd have told me 15, 14 years ago that near the Capas shrine would be a big international stadium and there'd be a main road from Clark all the way out to Santa Lucia at Capas, I'd have cried BS. No way that's ever going to happen. But it has happened, and it's continuing to happen. And I thought it was going to take maybe 20 years to see any real difference in change. I've seen a lot of change in the last 2 or 3 years. I come along this road every week, and it's incredible. It's non-stop development. I've now moved the lens from 2x zoom back to 1x zoom. I just noticed that, so you'll get even more of a wide angle perspective, hopefully. And it's quite tiring because I have not got a motorcycle mount on this bike or anything like that. So I'm literally riding on the throttle and holding the camera on a stick. My arm's actually aching, so I hope you appreciate all the pain I go through for you guys. Right, here we go. One of the frustrating things, I mentioned on a previous video about the frustrating thing with Filipino infrastructure is this is obviously a major development and the road has been open for a couple of years. But it's, some of it is, they've got gardeners that come out and they're constantly trying to make the plants look nice, which is a never-ending job. It's like painting the fourth bridge. Once you finish, it's time to start at the other end again. And you'll see here a lot of the manhole covers are dug up. They've resurfaced this a couple of times. Down in this part here where you'll see a U-turn sign, the actual engineering design of it, you see guys working on it now, and they're trying to basically bodge and patch up poor craftsmanship, poor workmanship in the past. And where this U-turn slot is, this all gets flooded. As soon as it rains, there's a wash that goes right across the road. And if you're on a motorcycle especially, it's very dangerous having a, quite easy to aquaplane. There's a lot of water, so the drainage hasn't really been put in properly. Surprise, surprise. And part of this road, look, if you look down, it's absolutely bloody terrible. And it's always been like that. And it's really patchy all the way from the bridge. And then right here, I'll say 3, 2, 1, boom. Now, this part of the road is as smooth as silk. So whoever laid this is how it was supposed to have been. And the rest of the bodge up excuses that you'll see in about 10 kilometers is an absolute joke again. But this part is baby skin smooth and absolutely wonderful. Now we're coming up to what will be the south end of the new HANN Reserve. As I said, the HANN Resort, I've already shown you in the previous video with the casino, and that's the area, the HANN Resort area is where the Swissotel, the HANN Casino, the Marriott Hotel and WIDUS, that's all part of the HANN Resort. This is the HANN Reserve, or will be, coming up to. But before that, we're going up to a lookout point. Now when I first saw this, I didn't appreciate that it was going to be the south end. Now I don't know whether that's going to be an entrance towards the HANN Reserve. I'm sure it will be in the future because it's a massive development. There's some local IATAs going across and a local village up through that way, which was in the middle of nowhere. I think they're quite surprised that it's now going to be part of a massive development. But this on the left hand side that you see, whether that's going to be like the south entrance to like the HANN Reserve, or whether it's going to be like the tradesman's entrance or not, but that mountainside is slowly disappearing. And when I initially looked at it, my heart sunk. I thought, oh my God, what an abortion. It's terrible how nature's being destroyed. But in all fairness, if you got to have you got to have sustainable development. And this Korean guy, the HANN guy that's doing all of this, he's obviously got very, very deep pockets. And I think eventually, when you look at all of the jobs that are going to be created and everything else, I think it's the lesser of two evils. You can't just live in a jungle forever. And over the course of the last 6 months or so, I've gradually watched that turning from a green mountain into what it is currently. Real kind of heavy duty development. And we're going to be coming up in a minute to like I think the main, what will be the main entrance to the HANN Resort. They've already got a sign there, which looks quite nice. We're going to stop off there and I'm going to show you. So I think it's very interesting. You'll notice that all of these street lights are solar. And there's hundreds of them. They're about every, 50 or 60 feet. And they've got double ones, you've got smaller ones on the left and right, and then larger ones in the middle. All solar. 38 kilometers. There's the HANN Reserve there. We're going to go off. We're going to go there, and I'm going to show you This is going to be the main entrance to it. I'm not allowed in, obviously, it's still under development. But I will show you the golf club bit that they've virtually finished. Main entrance 3 is going to be down, there we go, Valley Golf, Valley Course and HDC and MTP site. Right, well that's obviously the development site. But this main entrance is already taking shape. Just waiting for a noisy motorcycle to pass. No escaping those in the Philippines, no matter where you are. Apart from that, it's beautifully quiet here. All you can hear is birds and stuff. Okay, you get traffic noise with the traffic coming through. It's quite a fast new road. But when the traffic's not here, listen, it's beautifully quiet. This is going to be the main entrance to the Hann Reserve. There it is there. And it's going to be 3 18-hole golf courses, hotels, restaurants, business, commercial, residential. It's going to be everything. International school, parks, sports gyms, everything. Everything is going to be here. It's massive. When I read the article that when I read the article on the video, I'll go through. It's something like 140 hectares or something like that. It's massive. And I think the first phase is due to open later this year or shortly. Absolutely incredible what's going on here. And the Korean guy behind HANN is actually, I believe he's stopped all of his interests in Korea and is focusing purely on Clark because he believes so much in Clark. Now I'm just going to swivel the camera around so you can appreciate where we've come from. So that's where we've come from, all the way down there. And that all the way down there goes all the way back to Clark. The first part you'll come to after you've gone over the yellow bridge, you come to a big roundabout. You can go straight on to the new Clark International Airport or turn right and go into Clark. Or left, you can go to Mabalacat or the NLEX. It's got very, very good connections. And if we just swivel round, Salamat po. If you swivel round, we're going to go out this way all the way to New Clark City, the main part where the Aquatics Centre and the sports stadium is. Not going to go in there because I've done that on a previous video, but I'll show you exactly where it is so you get an idea of the location. But this is going to be beautiful, absolutely stunning, and I hope, just get myself in front of the camera again, I'm really hoping that I'm able to get access to that as soon as it's open, because I really do think it's going to be a major, major draw for retirees in the future. Clark, New Clark City, forget Angela's and all the girly bars and all the sex pats and everything else. Clark and New Clark City is going to be where it is going to be happening for retirees in the next 10, 20, 30 years. Now, if you're 60 already and you're in retirement, and you think, okay, maybe not in my lifetime. Sure, I get that. But I think there'll be residential opportunities here. There are some condos near the sports stadium that you can rent, but there's nothing else here now. There's nothing else here at the moment. It's still on the cusp of happening. But this will be a major, major hub within the next 5 to 10 years. So if you're in your 50s, put this on the map, because you might want to rent for a lot of your time and not commit yourself to buying anywhere, because in 5 to 10 years time you might want to be here, because trust me, everything is going to be here for a complete lifestyle. Hello and welcome to the Naked Expat channel. Integrated resort developer HANN Philippines is advancing its expansion in Central Luzon, developing residential, educational and wellness projects within its 450 hectare Hann Reserve in New Clark City, Tarlac. And I go past there quite regularly on my motorcycle, and it's coming along quite nicely. HANN Vice President Niklaus Wang said in a briefing on Wednesday, in 2030 we get to finish all this, but it does depend on the market. Building on what we've already achieved in Clark, HANN Reserve represents the next phase of our growth, she added. Scheduled to open in March of this year, HANN Reserve is expected to complete its first phase this year. This includes an 18-hole mountain golf course by Niklaus design, a golf and country club, and the initial phase of a public park.
Next year, 2027, the company plans to open an 18-hole valley course designed by South Korean professional golfer KG Choi. HANN Philippines aims to complete the second phase by 2030, which will include residential, retail and golf entertainment developments, an international school, phases 2 and 3 of the public park, and a river golf course designed by professional golfer Nick Faldo. So yeah, guys, 3 golf courses in total. The company is also planning its second integrated resort within the Hann Reserve. The property is expected to strengthen the Philippines' position as a competitive destination for tourism and golf, Hann Reserve General Manager Timothy John Neal has said. Hann Reserve is a 15-minute drive from the 11-hectare HANN Casino resort in Clark, which was the first integrated resort in the Clark Freeport Zone in Pampanga. Last December 2025, the company opened an expansion of the HANN Casino resort, adding a 1.2-hectare gaming area with 584 slot machines and 34 gaming tables. The resort also features 3 food and beverage outlets, namely The Canyon, 3 Walks and Pearl. A HANN Casino resorts host 5-star hotels including the Marriott, SwissHotel and WIDUS International Leisure. Now, irrespective of whether you are for or against casinos and what they bring to an economy, reserve judgment on that. It is an expansion and it is something that's going on and happening in Clark. And there's a lot going on. It is a very, very attractive and exciting base, certainly for expats. Irrespective of whether you go to casinos or not, there's a lot going on here and there's a lot to do, trust me. Right, let's continue the road trip.
Right, after the main entrance to HANN Reserve, hopefully I can show you the phase 1 golf course, which I think is the Jack Niklaus designed golf course. And I'm sure I'm repeating myself, there's going to be 3 18-hole golf courses on the left hand side. Now, I don't play golf, but I think there's a valley course, a links course, and another course. I think one of them is designed by a famous Korean golfer as well. But hopefully, keep your eyes out, guys, because I know it's in a valley, so we might not be able to see it too good. But hopefully, on the left-hand side, after this hill, you'll be able to see part of the new golf course, which I think is the phase 1 golf course for HANN Reserve, as well as I think the clubhouse. Let's see how we do. I'm really hoping you can get a little view of it, because it's quite incredible how this has been developed over the last year or so. I'm hoping, I mean, I've only got a basic action camera here, but I'm hoping you can see that part of it. I know there's a tree there. All the way in there, I'm hoping. Let's zoom in a little bit. I don't know whether how forgiving this is, but whether or not you can actually see that is a golf course over there. Hopefully that's in the, I can't see, but in the middle of your picture is sort of like a clubhouse area, and looking back over this way is where the golf course goes up through that valley. See if I'll just move along a little bit, see if you can see it. I hope you do. I can sort of see it from my side, but with my eyes, but I don't know if you can see it with the camera. I'm hoping you can. It's when you think that there was nothing there 5 years ago, it was just virgin land. It's one way, unfortunately, at the moment, but the golf course goes all the way back through that valley, and that's only one of the golf courses. And the entrance to it is slightly further down this road on the left-hand side. It's going to be another entrance. But I think that maybe that's the construction entrance. It might be like another north entrance, who knows? But basically, right down there in the dip, where the road dips, is one entrance, and then back to where we've come is Hann Reserve. That's the main entrance. So you can get an appreciation of the size of the place. And there's going to be an international school in there, shopping, retail, you know, hotels, restaurants, residential, and not just condominiums. I think the guy's idea, if he can get a change to the base's sort of charter, is to have, although leasehold land, because he's a business, I think he's got a lease of 100 years. And his idea, I think, is to build some villas and houses there as well as condos. But of course, if that's the case, you'll be able to buy a condo with a 100-year lease. Well, that's far, far better than what you can currently do in Clark with what's left of a 50-year lease and renewable, but on their terms. 100 years gives retirees, well, anybody really, considerably more peace of mind if you want a place in New Clark City and use it as a base. Being so close to Clark, you could live there for a few months of the year and then bugger off to Thailand. And it's a turnkey operation with probably very, very good security. You'll pay for that with maintenance, of course. But you can lock up, fly to Thailand for a few months and come back. What a fantastic lifestyle. Should you be so inclined. Right. This part of the road is still continues to be nice and smooth. When it starts to get rough again, surprise, surprise, you're back into the area where the sports stadium and Aquatics Centre is. And also it's the fitness and training centre now for the Angeles City Athletic, the Philippine Athletic Squad, and their main sort of physical training centre for the Philippines is based here now. And as I think I previously mentioned, the University of the Philippines main campus is going to be relocated here, as well as a lot of government buildings where government employees are currently employed in Manila will be moving out here. I think that's a construction entrance to the top end of the Hann Reserve, up through there. Beautiful countryside here. Goes on forever. Now bearing in mind, guys, that coming up to the stadium from Clark is a trip of 38 kilometres in a straight line. So it's a huge amount of land, and it's going to be developed for residential, commercial, sports and everything else. There is no other place that I know of in the whole of Asia that has as much potential as NCC, New Clark City, and even to a degree, Clark. Clark needs to change and be less dependent on BPOs and call centres, because as I keep on rabbiting on about, AI is going to destroy that industry. But as far as tourism and opportunities is concerned, oh dearie me, there's nothing on this scale anywhere else in Asia that I know of. Nothing. You could say, okay, on the outskirts of somewhere in China, yeah, maybe, but they're all ghost towns. Now, NCC for a while, when this road opened, was a bit of a ghost town. And I kept on saying to myself, Andrew, never going to see anything really in my lifetime. But now that the guy from HANN Resorts has put his cards on the table with HANN Reserve, I think that's really going to springboard a lot more development. Especially little things like you've got 38 kilometres of road and not one gasoline station. As you can see, people drive like idiots. It's a 60 km/h limit here, but with no traffic. It's more like a racetrack. So you got to keep your eyes, you got to keep your wits about you. This part of the road is quite smooth, and in a minute it will start getting bumpy and a bit rough again. But you can appreciate the landscaping on the left, the right and in the middle with these flowers and these shrubs that have all been planted. And of course they need a lot of maintenance. So you do see truckloads of gardeners out here sometimes, trimming and pruning and everything else. It's a lot of upkeep. So sometimes, depending on the time of year, some places can be a bit unkempt and overgrown, and the shrubs, like here on the right, start growing into the road. Well, when it's all manicured, it looks nice. But the upkeep of this sort of shrubbery, which I'm sure was put in as part of the dressing up, window dressing for the Asian Games a few years ago, is quite high maintenance now. So what do? Do they just let it get overgrown? Or is it just like a constant upkeep? Now I know gardeners and labour can be relatively cheap, but it must be a real pain in the butt to maintain all of this. And for a lot of kilometres, it all looks a bit wild now. Beautiful, beautiful trees though. I'm not sure you're gonna really appreciate them on camera. I don't know how good this lens is, but there's lots of different plants, flowers. And as you can see over there, for miles and miles and miles in every direction, you've got gorgeous countryside, the occasional farm, and incredible amount of development that's going to go on. This is all part of the base. There's a sign there we're looking at, something else. It's going to spring up as a park. I'll see if I can freeze frame that when we get into the edit. There's a farm over there in the distance. I'll try and edit out some of the noise, but I thought I'd do this for you guys. I'm not really that experienced with editing and everything else. I'm doing my best, but I wanted to give you guys an appreciation, because if you come to Angeles and Clark, unless you're based here and you've got transport, you're highly unlikely to come out this way. And yet, a lot of people have actually said to me, what's all this about NCC, New Clark City? Or, I'm coming to Clark for 3 or 4 days. Is there anywhere I can go and see in New Clark City? Well, no, not really, because there's nothing much here yet. Over the top of the brow of this hill, you'll see the Aquatics Stadium on your right hand side, and there's also the Athletics Stadium and everything else. I've covered that in previous videos. There it is on the horizon. The Aquatics Stadium, this road is very, very bumpy now, you hit the bumpy part. The Aquatics Stadium, I think, is highly unusual because the seated area is indoors under a canopy, and obviously that's good for rain and the heat of the day. It's shaded. But for 3 sides, the Aquatics Stadium is open, and it's open air, and it's stunning with high diving boards, Olympic-sized stadium, Olympic-sized swimming pool with all of the lanes and timing equipment and everything else. It's Olympic standard. There's a road there which is being finished, but it doesn't go, it's a road to nowhere at the moment there. Notice you've still got all of these solar lights, 38 kilometres of solar lights. Whoever got that contract is probably a very, very rich person, because I bet he charged more than what they cost him. Anyhow, you do actually see a few of them where the concrete bases have subsided and they're a bit down. Or you look at some of them and they're leaning, they're a bit wonky. So Whether or not they're going to last for a long time, I don't know. And somebody told me that they drove along here recently, and none of them were on in the evening. I don't know if that's just BS and just people believing something else that somebody said, but I would like to think that the vast majority of them are still working. I'll tilt the camera over to the right in a moment so you can see the Aquatics Centre. You can't really see the stadium because that's a bit further down there. But I have done a video on, and I've been in the stadium. Now, the Aquatics Centre is the kind of funky roof with the diamonds. And then to the left of that is an administration building. And it's currently unoccupied. And the idea of that administration building is that if there's a big earthquake, like the big one in Manila, then the government can move there and it's fully operational within a few weeks. That's the idea, but I did see a sign there saying that it's for rent. So whether or not that was the original idea and they've changed their mind, I don't know. Welcome to the Philippines. Right, coming up here, we're nearly at the other end now, where I turn off to go to Santa Lucia. But I wanted to show you on the left-hand side. Some people have talked about it. They have no idea. Just after the Aquatic Stadium and the sports stadium on the right, this is where the new Filinvest New Clark City is happening. And I'll just stop off here to show you. I'll be a little bit careful because there's a lot of gravel, a lot of construction gravel on the ground. Okay if you're in a car, but not so good if you're on a bike. Right, as you can see from the sign, this is Filinvest New Clark City. And if I swivel the camera around, you might see in the distance a needle sticking out. That's the Capas shrine. I've been there before. It's a memorial. It's three sides to represent the Americans, the Japanese, and the Filipino soldiers that lost their lives during the war. And there's an incredible amount of history because just over, we will pass it on shortly. Will I have my video camera on? No, I won't have my video camera on. But anyway, where I'll be passing shortly is Camp O'Donnell, which is the base, the Philippine Army base. Previously, it was taken over. It was an American base, and it was taken over by the Japanese. And the horrific story of the Bataan Death March, where people were called the Death March because a lot of people lost their lives, Americans and Filipinos. And the Japanese marched them from Bataan all the way to San Fernando, where they were put in box carts, and a lot of them suffered from dysentery and were basically cooked alive in these box carts to have a train from San Fernando to Capas, and then they were marched the final part of the journey to Camp O'Donnell, and a lot of people lost their lives. The Bataan Death March is horrific. There's documentaries on YouTube and elsewhere on the internet that you can educate yourself about it, and it's an incredible story. And those that survived, a bit like any survivor, they felt guilty for the ones that were left behind. So anyway, that is very, very poignant, and most people don't realise that needle is three-sided, and that's the reason for it, representing the three major nationalities that lost their lives. Over to the right-hand side of the road is the administration building that I was talking about. You can't quite see the roof. Maybe you can see the roof of the Aquatic Centre. And then further down this road, where you can see this grey kind of structure, that's the surrounding edge of the circular or oval athletics stadium. I've been in there previously, so I'm not going in there today. But you can watch a previous video of mine where I'm actually in there walking around the athletics track, cracking a few jokes. I've also been here before, behind me, saying,
all the roads in the Philippines, they're very, very busy. Are they? Well, obviously this one isn't. And this road here, I'll just get out of the camera. This road here eventually will go down, it goes down about another kilometre, and then we'll join up with the main road. And there's a main road here which I'll be going along, which comes from the top end, the north part of New Clark City, and goes all the way through to Santa Lucia and O'Donnell, passing Camp O'Donnell. O'Donnell is a subdivision, Camp O'Donnell is the army base. And you see the beautiful mountains in the background. It's relatively clear today, and it just goes on forever and ever and ever. And way, way, way over there is Mount Pinatubo, the famous volcano that erupted and created a lot of devastation. And I believe, don't quote me on the actual figures, but I believe that I watched a documentary once where they were boring ice cores down in the Arctic. It was either the Arctic or the Antarctic, and they went down like 300 meters or whatever, and they pull out these ice cores. And there's like a bit like how you like, depending on the rings of the ice cores, is different environmental changes throughout the years. And they sort of date what's been going on with the climate. And distinctively, when Mount Pinatubo erupted, there was so much ash. They also dated it around about the time of like Vesuvius and stuff, and Mount Etna, and they know the exact date because when Pinatubo erupted, there was so much ash spurted out into the atmosphere and circled around the globe. I think that the Earth actually dropped by 2 degrees or something for X number of months or a year or whatever, and it shows in the ice cores that they've bored down and got, and they can actually say that's where Mount Pinatubo erupted. So there's a bit of interesting information. Anyhow, Filinvest New Clark City, this is going to be, there's a lot of business development going on there. It's going to be warehousing, distribution networks, and other business development. I'm not exactly clear about whether or not there's going to be any residential or not, but as you can appreciate, if we look back, as far as the eye can see, all the way around here, all the way in the distance, apart from the mountains in the far, far distance, all of the hills that you can see, if you can see any, all around there is all New Clark City land. So there's a massive amount of potential. I'll quickly finish in about 5 minutes, just passing the last bit where there's warehousing and development going on currently. And then I'll be coming at the top of the New Clark City north entrance. Right, this is the last little leg coming up to the top there in the distance. Straight ahead is the north entrance to New Clark City. And I'll be going up there and then turning left to go towards Capas. Over on the right hand side is a STB, I think it is, very big Philippine company, and they've just extended their warehousing and operation there, and they've quadrupled in size. All of this behind that wall is developed for industrial parks. And over there towards the right is an entrance that goes out towards Capas. As you can see, both sides, I'll just pivot round. That road will go down and connect the other road right off in the distance, and then you can turn right and get back out onto the main Capas road. Eventually, that part isn't open yet, but it will replicate what is up here.
and it is constant development now. Now, okay, it's not as... Now, okay, the development is no way as fast as, like, say, China, but it's starting to happen. Certainly after COVID, things are really starting to happen. And not sure what's going on here on the left, just by the main entrance, but this is obviously a new development that's happening. And you'll see the signs here for the hot air balloon, the hot air balloon fiesta, which is in New Clark City soon, February the 13th to the 15th, with obviously Valentine's Day smack bang in the middle. Now, that used to be in Clark, but because of the airport and how busy it is now, you can't have balloons and a lot of traffic in and around Clark, because anybody that's been here for any period of time will tell you that when the balloon fiesta is on in Clark, don't bother going out, because the traffic is an absolute nightmare, trust me. It's just not worth it. It's absolute chaos. So they didn't do it for a while, obviously because of COVID. They're doing it again now, and they've moved it from Clark to New Clark City, which I think is very, very sensible, because there's a massive amount of land here. And obviously people can get here. There's lots of ways to get here. And also they can park, which is fantastic. I think to get into some of the main arena area, you got to pay, but you can see the balloons from the outside. Now, I'm not sure if they're actually going to do an ascent, or whether balloons are just going to be tethered to the ground or not. I think you could probably, depending on the wind direction, you might be able to get a balloon ride. I know you can pay to go up in the air, but with the balloon tethered. I know you can do that, but as for whether or not there'll be an actual ascent or not, I'm not sure. I think the jury's out on that. We'll have to wait and see. Because of course, if the wind's in the wrong direction, the last thing you want is hot air balloons blowing over towards Clark International Airport, because that would be absolute chaos. But anyway, I wouldn't put it past somebody to give it the go-ahead if the brown envelope is big enough. But wait and see. Right, now, this is the north entrance to New Clark City, and when I come back from Capas, I'll obviously be coming back along this road, and I'll be basically doing the reverse of what I've just shown you, going all the way back there, see, 38 kilometers back into Clark and then Angeles City. So I hope you've enjoyed that little view of Clark to New Clark City. I'm heading to Camp O'Donnell Army Base now. As a little bit of a bonus, we're coming into Barangay Santa Lucia now, which is well known amongst Filipinos, as you got to come into Santa Lucia to visit the army base, Camp O'Donnell. Camp O'Donnell is not in the barangay of O'Donnell, that's further down. You've got Santa Lucia as a barangay, and then you've got O'Donnell. But Camp O'Donnell is in Santa Lucia. There's a nice coffee shop there on the left that I've been in. Never really got the food on the menu that it's supposed to have. There's a surprise. This road has recently been tarmacked. It used to be really bumpy, but someone's obviously spent some money. There's a broken down BMW, is it a 5 Series or 7 Series? It's been there for years. I think that's a 7 Series. Been there for years, just dumped there. It's just quite unusual, you know, for the food feed. We're coming up to the first entrance to the base on the right hand side. And the reason I'm filming this is because I stop off sometimes to a lovely little food truck that's established itself on the left. And it's run by a husband and wife team. And the wife actually used to go to school with my ex-sister-in-law. Anyway, there's part of the army base there. And the army base is all of the land on the right-hand side that you will see throughout this little extra video clip. All on the right-hand side. They also have marksman competitions for shooting between the Philippines and other armies, like the Thai armies and everything else. And if you've done any research about training in the army in the Philippines, you'll appreciate that along with like the SAS and the Navy SEALs, internationally, the Navy SEALs or SAS Philippine equivalent are highly regarded internationally as being a bunch of real tough bastards. Really, really tough. The training is incredibly tough. Probably such a training regime that you wouldn't be allowed to get away with in a more of the developed world. So a lot of these guys are very highly respected. There's my famous little food truck. I'm going to do an interview with them at some point. I'm going to beep and say hello. I'm going to beep and say hello because I think the wife is in there. See if she recognises me. She just gives me a wave. I'll say good. I'll shout good afternoon. There she is. Good afternoon. Hello, you on YouTube? Oh, there's a little boy. He's lovely. I always stop in there with Harvey on the way back. I'm coming in with Harvey. 5 minutes. Okay. So that's a little favourite food truck of mine, run by husband and wife team. Really, really lovely. He used to be in a call centre and stuff, saved up his money. They've obviously had to have a lot of permits and stuff to do that. But trust me, it's lovely coffee and they do bubble tea, cold drinks and stuff like that. It's really, really popular. Right. Coming along. Lots of little restaurants on the side. They're popular with the squaddies when they come out. They got a bit of free time. You get motorcycle parks, you get your hair done, they got massage, they got restaurants, everything. You can even buy a helmet. Not that many people wear helmets out this way in the province. Some do. Here's the main Camp O'Donnell there. That's the main entrance. And as I was saying, the training for the Philippine Army is very, very tough. And if you go on into special forces, that's where they have the rifle shooting there, international shooting competitions there. In that part, you can see the little monument there. I might slow it down so you can see that later in the edit. The special forces of the Philippines are incredibly tough, very, very tough. Now, I'm not disrespecting Navy SEALs and the SAS and the UK or everybody else. Of course, they're, as you used to say in that comic strip, they're double-hard bastards. But it's interesting that amongst all of these special forces, globally, the Philippines training is highly regarded as one of the toughest. So these guys don't mess about. But they are very well disciplined. There's a lot of them that hang around Santa Lucia, and I spend a lot of time here for various reasons. And you can talk to any of them and they're very, very friendly and they're very, very well disciplined. You never see them out drunk or anything else like that. And they're very polite with elders and seniors. So that's testament to the discipline that's instilled in them. Coming down now from Camp O'Donnell, I thought I'd show you that, in towards the main part of Santa Lucia. Now this road eventually, after the barangay of Camp O'Donnell, is being expanded and they're building a mountain pass that will go all the way to south of Iba in Zambales, north of Subic. So basically the idea is that from Tarlac, you'll be able to go along this road and then across the mountains to the seaside, to the ocean. Now the road isn't open yet. I was talking to a Filipino major, that's a very good friend of mine, and he said, no, the road's not open yet, but it will be opening maybe by the end of this year, passable by motorcycles. I'm not sure if by cars. I think you can do it on a dirt bike at the moment, but it's very, very rough. So I'm not going to bother having a go. But it's incredible that from Tarlac you can go to Zambales. along this road. So obviously I think land prices and development is all going to happen here. And we're coming down into Santa Lucia now. I've never understood this. There's Santa Lucia High School, and they've got a crossing on a dangerous blind bend. So thankfully there's kind of like a crossing staff. Like in England we call them lollipop men and ladies with their be careful lollipop. They're helping the children on the road. There's an army truck coming up towards Camp O'Donnell, and you see plenty of them. And if you were to carry on this road, you've got two ways. You can go to O'Donnell and then follow the road into the countryside, and that's the road that will eventually take you to Zambales. Incredible what they're doing there. Or you can take another road along this road, and eventually the road will stop, and then you can take 4x4s to go and visit Mount Pinatubo and go and see the crater lake. Right, I hope you've enjoyed that tour between Clark and New Clark City, and a little bonus part with my friends with a food truck and Camp O'Donnell Army Base. It's got a lot of historical interest because that's where a lot of the survivors of Bataan ended up. Just wait for that noisy motorcycle to pass. Again, can't escape anywhere in the Philippines. If you've enjoyed this video and you think somebody else might be interested in watching it, please like and subscribe and share it with them. Similarly, do become a channel member for exclusive content and early access to a lot of my videos, and soon weekly live streams. As always, thank you very much for watching. Enjoy.